Hey, what's up, everyone? It's the Lemesis, your nemesis, but you can call me Lem. And welcome to Just Another Cheesehead podcast. And we're going to go over the recap of the Packers at Eagles, or basically the Packers and Eagles in Brazil. I think it was São Paulo, Brazil. Never been, but I'm not a huge fan of teams going internationally. I don't really think it's fair. You take away a home game from an opposing team, and both of them aren't home. And I know the NFL is just trying to get a lot of viewership, but I mean, let's be frank. The rest of the world has their football, and it is in American football. But, you know, I know it's a business at the end of the day. It's entertainment. And to me, I think it would be unfair not to make the argument of like, man, this is probably why we shouldn't do international games. So I want to be very objective. I got some criticisms, but I definitely want to be objective. So I'm going to criticize the NFL here as well. Why are you taking your product that is worth billions and billions and potentially trillions of dollars, and you are sending them out all over the world on these, you know, piss poor fields? You see what's on your screen right now. The Green Bay Packers lost Jordan Love for many reasons, right? I was ready to get on here and make fun of Jordan Love being like, you know, maybe a dog was looking at him, right? If you know that Friends reference, you know, he was eating bananas. He was getting massaged on the sidelines, but you saw that terrible injury that happened to him. And they had a trash field out there. And this has been an issue that the NFL has just basically had, even if they're not going international. They had this problem with players complaining about why every time they come to a particular stadium, the fields are different. You would think that, you know, weather would be a difference, but footing should not be a difference. It shouldn't be like, oh, man, when we go into Green Bay, they footing is so trash. They always have the advantage because they wear those special shoes. That's ridiculous. This is a multi-billion-dollar organization that's working with the NFLPA. They should be able to come to an agreement and have a field that's legit, that all players can play on, and that the fans don't get screwed on, so that we don't see these types of injuries. The NFL should be doing everything they can to make sure these kind of injuries, or injuries in period that come from turf or from the field in some way, shape, or form, are eliminated. And it's just funny how you see money doesn't solve all problems, right? That these guys have all the money in the world and they could solve these issues, but they don't. And they're basically ruining their product. So I think it's very fair to say that, like, man, this is not a good look for the NFL, because how can anyone even give it a proper evaluation after seeing that? So I want to say that as a preface that, like, you know, last night looked terrible. But all that being said, both the Packers and the Eagles played on that trash field, and the Eagles came out on top. And that's the reason why I want to say, hey, I want to be objective, but I don't want to make excuses. Objectively speaking, you have to admit the turf probably had a lot, or not turf technically, the grass field had a lot to do with, you saw players slipping all over. I'm sure there's guys who probably sprained something that didn't get all of the attention that Jordan Love got, and they were on the Eagle side and on the Packers side. So, of course, the cameras are going to be focusing on them, and that's the reason why it's a big deal. But just a quick update, if you're watching this video as of 4:48 p.m. Eastern, so if you're watching this video any other day, and today is actually September 7th, so right now it's 4:49 p.m. on September 7th, Jordan Love has been upgraded to just an MCL sprain. Now, we don't know what grade of sprain that is. So depending on the grade of sprain that he has, it could be a grade 1, a grade 2, or a grade 3. And let's just pull some of this information up so you know what I know. So a grade 1 sprain usually heals in about 1 to 3 weeks. It may only require home treatment and crutches for a short time. Grade 2 usually heals in about a month and may require a hinged knee brace and limiting weight on the leg. And a grade 3 sprain may require a hinge brace for a few months and limiting weight on the leg for 4 to 6 weeks. So it looks like he could be out for about 1 to 6 weeks, maybe more. And he's just going to need to get a lot of rest, ice it, elevate that knee, take some pain medications, according to AI Google. And we'll see what happens. To me, you pay a guy that much money, you rest, son. Like, you're not trying to come back and help us win because, one, you're not that guy, right? Like, let's be real. This isn't Aaron Rodgers who got hurt and we need him back to make it to the playoffs. This is Jordan Love, who we don't even know if you really that dude. So we need your best out there, right? Because we paid you millions and millions of dollars. So from my perspective, if the Green Bay Packers are smart, you don't try to take a hobbled, we don't really know how good you are, Jordan Love, and rush him back onto the field. Because last year he played 8 games that were good, and then he played 8 games that were trash. So then this year, he played 1 game that was extremely mediocre, in my opinion. You can make the excuses about the field, but both teams had the same trash field that they played on. But if he's hurt now, I want to see his best, not him coming off an injury, probably not that good, because this is the reason why I'm so critical of stuff like this, because with football, it's not just ability, it's availability. So, like, great players can even play through injuries. I mean, we saw that with Brett Favre. We saw that with a lot of players. And I'm not saying they're invincible, but that's one of the reasons why players are great. And right now, the vibe I'm getting is a little less than like an RG3 and a Carson Wentz. And the reason why I say that is because if this guy can't stay healthy, he didn't even have years like RG3 and Carson Wentz. So for me, it'd be safe for them to just kind of be like, all right, let this guy sit for like 10 weeks. In my opinion, if we don't know how severe it is. So let's say he's pushing like 6 weeks. I say, bro, just chill. 10, 11 weeks, come in at the end of the season. This is going to be a losing season. Throw the ball around. Show us what you got. Maybe you win the last several games of the season for us. And then we have hope for the future. Instead of throwing him back into the fire, and then maybe his knee is not really 100%, and then he tweaks it or hurts it, or he actually pops the ACL, and now you put us in an even more precarious situation, right? So I just want to see him perform at his best, and I think him resting as much as he possibly can, the better. Let's be real. So many people picked the Green Bay Packers to go to the Super Bowl this year. I saw this all through the media. That's retarded. I don't know who thought we were ever going to go anywhere close to the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying this after the fact. I'm saying this before the injury. I mean, if you look at this team, and we're going to get to the recap, but if you look at this team, who is really that talented on this team? You got Josh Jacobs. You can't really say Jordan Love because he hasn't proven himself. The wide receivers are all a bunch of rookie bums. We don't know if they're good or bad. I talked to my buddy about it. He was like, you got to give it to Jalen Reed. Okay, I'll give you Jalen Reed. Now let's go to defensive side of the ball. You got Kenny Clark, maybe. He's not, to me, he's like, if we're just giving letter grades like A, B, C, and D, Kenny Clark's like a B, maybe a high B, B+. Jair Alexander to me, he's aging. You're seeing him age. He gave up that big touchdown. He had that one play where he picked off Jalen Hurts in the end zone, where he was in a zone, okay, but he can't really cover the number 1 guy anymore. He got burnt. So if Jair Alexander's our best player and he's giving up touchdowns looking like a rookie, chasing after everyone, I mean, we're not talented. And this is the reason why I got so upset when we broke up the team the way we did. I knew it was going to happen and it had to happen, but like, I need to see talent. And I'm not seeing anybody talented. You know who looked talented? The Philadelphia Eagles. They had enough talent to overcome all the sins they committed that entire game. And let's go to the recap, because I think this is quite interesting. So we're 0-1, and we're probably going to be 0 in a lot of stuff real soon. And the Eagles are 1-0. And let's be frank, like, I don't think the Eagles should have won that game last night. Honestly, that should be a W. Matt LaFleur said it. And to me, when Matt LaFleur says the things he says, he just tells on himself. And he just gives me all these reasons to be like, bro, you should be gone. Like, I don't even know why you're still here. You keep telling on yourself every single time we lose a game. He gets on the mic and he's saying the same BS over and over and over again. And he just talks about like, man, we didn't prepare. Jigga, that's your job. Like, it was your job to be prepared. Like, it was your job to make sure the team didn't look like a bunch of high school players out there. We had penalties out the wazoo. We had, like, I get we were slipping, but everybody was slipping. So you pull the slipping out of the way. Cats were dropping the ball. Dudes were not prepared. Bro, you know you were going to be playing in Brazil this whole time. You didn't go out there and even try to see what the field was like, run full speed, do some things. You knew what was going to happen. You didn't get no new cleats out there. You didn't get longer cleats. What is going on? It's called about being prepared. Do you know what coaching is? It's like, do you think Bill Belichick really won the games for those players? No, he puts his team in the best possible position for victory. The coach prepares. You heard Tom Brady talk about it. He's the best coach out there. Really what he does is prepare the team to be ready for whatever gets thrown at them. You can't even get them ready for the field. They're not even ready for the Eagles. He's the team not ready for the field. They're not prepared to take on the field that's in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Seriously, like, how are you a good coach? You're not even a good coach if you can't get your team ready to run on the field. Stop it. So we lost 29-34. Just a quick little snapshot. Why are we giving up 34 points? Come on, Halfley. And Matt LaFleur hired you. So can I really be mad at Halfley at the moment? Nope. But this is what you're going to do? Now, I will say this. It's one game. But you had all offseason. I don't want to hear no excuses. It's not Aaron Rodgers' team anymore. You had your last year and this year. And it's about Matt LaFleur and his offensive scheme and how smart he is. And I'm not seeing it. If you're so smart, why wasn't it 14-0 at the beginning of the game when we stopped the team and got the ball within the 20-yard line twice, and we got away with 2 field goals? And then at one point, the game was 7-6. So in the first quarter, you put up 6 points when you had the ball within the red zone twice. So I'm having a hard time with all of this. So Jordan Love was 17 for 34, 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. To be fair to Jordan Love, what happened? He had a couple guys drop balls. He was slipping all over the field. But he was also thrown off his back foot. So 17 for 34 is literally 50% of his passes. So he completed 50% of his passes. And if you give or take him maybe 1 or 2 drops that those guys had, separate from overthrows and underthrows and picks, maybe he threw and completed 55 to 50-something% of his passes. That's not good enough. That's like some Tim Tebow type stuff. If we want to get real, that's some Tim Tebow type stuff. It's one game. Not saying he's Tim Tebow. I'm just saying, let's not try to act like this was a good game. Right? Last year, and here's the thing that makes me mad. Last year, he played against the Bears. He won, and everybody was like, oh, my God, the next coming of Aaron Rodgers. He's so fantastic. But he loses the first game this year. People want to make excuses. I know how you fans are. Remember, I always tell you, I'm here to educate you, to help make you a better cheesehead, a better fan. I think it's very ironic that if we would have turned out with a W, all the fans out there would be saying, oh, my God, Jordan Love, fantastic. Get off him. Told you guys he was going to do it. Told you guys he was going to dominate. But I feel inclined to say, well, it was just one game. Bump that. I'm not going to be talking about it's just one game. I take it back. Why? Because in the NFL, you have a limited number of games to perform. When you play in the Super Bowl, it's one game. You don't get 7-game series. You don't get to come back out there and play again and again and again, and then after 7 games, you give your best performance. Nah, son, every game, every week, one and done. That's how the NFL works. So if you don't perform well in one game, it's pivotal. It's monumental. It's a huge impact. So I don't want to hear that BS. That's a lesson you just got for free. When you start making these arguments about one game, you need to come to this 15-minute mark in the video and go, hey, Lem kind of put me straight here. Yeah, he did. So, Jordan Love, 50% of his passes, 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, and let's be real, 2 picks. Would have had a pick 6. And if you include that pick 6, they score more than 34 points. Jalen Reed was really the only player, in my opinion, who stood out the most this entire game. He only had 4 receptions, 138 yards, 34.5 yards on average, and 1 touchdown. I could have sworn he got into the end zone multiple times. Oh, that's receiving. He was also for rushing. I was about to say. And rushing, he had 1 carry for 33 yards. That was a fantastic run. Good play call by Matt LaFleur. But Jaden Reed, and I said Jalen, so I apologize. Jaden Reed was the only thing that stood out this entire game. Josh Jacobs, he looked like a bum. He averaged 5.2 yards, and he still had Jordan Love on the field to kind of take the pressure off of him. He had a couple plays that gave him most of his 84 yards, but let's be real. Jordan Love is gone. It's just going to be the Las Vegas Raiders all over again. This is a joke. Emmanuel Wilson at times looked better than Josh Jacobs. Be honest. When he was on the field, I was like, who is this guy? He had 4 carries for 46 yards. He averaged 11.5 yards per carry. Why didn't he get the ball more? Because you paid Josh Jacobs. We're not talented, guys. I don't even know where A.J. Dillon is. I haven't been keeping up with them in the offseason, but I was sitting there being like, where's A.J. Dillon? Did they get rid of A.J. Dillon? He must have got hurt in training camp. It doesn't really matter. He didn't play last night, but this team is not it. This is not the team, even if Jordan Love doesn't get hurt, this ain't the team that's going to the Super Bowl. You know what the Eagles did last night? Let's just briefly go over Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts threw 2 interceptions and fumbled the ball. He was 20 for 34, 278 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had 3 turnovers. And they still won the game. He completed 58% of his passes, and they won because he did what he was supposed to do. To me, what Jalen Hurts did last night was reminiscent of like a Russell Wilson game. Let's be frank. Russell Wilson would be so trash. He'd just be running all over the field, and then he'll just, oh, my God, what is that amazing play? Throws a touchdown, runs for 30 yards. He'll do something amazing. He will look so trash the whole game, and when it matters, he just wins. I don't think much of Russell Wilson. I really don't think much of Jalen Hurts either, but he played better than Jordan Love, and he made us look like trash, even though we had him in the crosshairs, and they still won. Saquon Barkley was running all over the place. Get off me. It made no sense. Let's go back. Defensively, I mean, looking at the tackles, Jair had a pick. Xavier McKinney had that pick early in the game, and we were able to get absolutely nothing off of it. We weren't even like prepared. You could see that when we got the pick with Jair was trying to get everybody to rally, like, come on, start blocking for me. Start blocking for me. I got some speed. And he couldn't even get barely 20 to 25 yards down the field from the end zone until he got tackled. Would have been nice to see some ball hawks to just kind of like rally together and go, let's go. Let's get him all the way down the field. Let's get a pick. Let's get a pick 6 right here. Didn't happen. This is like the team of average talent that collectively we can look good when nobody sees us coming. But now that everybody sees us coming, it's over. You could see we got overwhelmed by the defensive prowess of the Philadelphia Eagles when it mattered most. Because let's be real, the Eagles played defense. Look at the scoreboard. 6, which means they stopped us in the red zone twice. Then they give up a touchdown and a kick. So they gave up just one touchdown in the in the first half. Then in the second half, they give up one touchdown and a field goal. They held us in check. And if it wasn't for field position and their own turnovers, we don't score. We maybe score 20 points. Let's be real. Now, that last field goal, you give it to us because we went down the field. But we went down the field with nothing but penalties, and the game was super sloppy. Are you serious right now? And then I don't know who this kid is. Braden, what is it, Narvison or Nervison? I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name. He was terrible. Why do we get rid of Mason Crosby for this kid? I just don't understand why in the NFL, players are a premium. And I get guys get old and you can't hold on them forever. But my goodness, you got to have a decent replacement before you just take some random kid who comes off the draft and just throws them in position. I get that at one point, Russell, all these guys were rookies, right? Aaron Rodgers was a rookie. Mason Crosby was a rookie. Jordy Nelson, all those guys were rookies. Then they had to come in and prove themselves. So either the draft class, we've been terrible at drafting, which I'm not going to argue we have been, or just the level of players suck. I just don't understand why Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur went out of their way to replace the team we had with the veterans we have for this. This is what you wanted. This was your deal. This is your ideal future. And I don't know why you get rid of Aaron Jones. That made no sense. Having Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs would have made sense to me. I know Aaron Jones, he can't stay healthy, kept getting injured. I get that. But that's the issue of just spreading the load. You put all the load on Josh Jacobs, he may not even make it out. The NFL, you will get injured. You're guaranteed to get injured. There's no doubt about it. So offensively, I think we looked absolutely terrible. We were out of sorts. We kept having penalties galore. We had drop passes. Are we going to not talk about how Jordan Love was thrown off his back foot on maybe like 8 or 9 throws? The dude was just throwing off his back foot. He was slipping. The grass was ridiculous, but it didn't stop A.J. Brown from getting into the end zone. It didn't stop Saquon Barkley from getting into the end zone. This was really, really bad. And we don't know when Jordan Love is going to come back, but can we be frank? Does it really matter? Does it matter? Let's look at the Packers' remaining schedule, right? Assuming he's going to be gone for 6 weeks, right? Next game, September 15th, Colts. I think that's an L. Titans. That's an L. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the next 6 games. I don't think we beat any of these teams. You got to remember, the QB position is the most important position in the NFL, guys. And you have Clifford, the big red dog. You have Willis. Maybe he's Patrick Willis coming out of retirement, but he didn't play the quarterback position. I joked with my buddy and said maybe he's Patrick Willis Jr. I don't know. But you got this guy, Willis, who literally got onto the team roughly 10 days ago. So you think he's going to come up to speed? It's going to take this dude 2 months to come up to speed. And by the time he comes up to speed, apparently Jordan Love will probably be back. So I just look at this as L's, 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 L's. Matt LaFleur with Aaron Rodgers, Matt LaFleur with Jordan Love has never proven that he can win games and overcome obstacles with less talent on the field. So why do we think when he doesn't even have Jordan Love and he doesn't even have Aaron Rodgers that he's going to somehow go 500 or even have a winning record? We're not winning these games, guys. I'll be surprised. The only time we might win these games is if both teams are hobbled, both teams are injured, and because we don't know what's going to happen this Sunday when the Colts play, when the Titans play, when the Vikings and the Rams and the Texans and the Cardinals, maybe the playing field gets leveled, some injuries occur, and therefore, yeah, we can win some of these games. As of right now, barring injury, all these other teams are prepared and ready to go. So, and we're not going to sit here and wish injury on anyone. So, we're not going to do that. So, this game was atrocious. I don't think you can even come close to say that we should have hope for the rest of this year because this team has not been prepared, won't be prepared, and it's off kiltered. By the time Jordan Love comes back, again, he still has to prove himself. We still don't know what kind of guy he is. What kind of player is he? So, hey, that's my 2 cents on the game. I want to thank you guys for listening. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. And as always, you know what? If you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ, you should get to know him. It'll be the best decision you ever make in your life. Just ask him to come into your life. And as always, go Pack Go. I know that a lot of fans listen to this and they get a little annoyed. They don't like my take. I'm sorry. I'm just going to be real. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to sit up here and bloviate and talk about how we can make it. And, you know, like my buddy was telling me, oh, man, we just need the Lions and the Vikings and the Bears to lose, blah, blah, blah. Nah, bro, I don't want to go. You know, we had Aaron Rodgers. And we had the Bears and the Vikings and the Lions lose, and we just go to the playoffs and we get beat because you can't just make everybody lose for you to just win the Super Bowl. You eventually play a talented team, and if you're not talented enough, they make you look like you don't belong. And I'm tired of us setting the expectations of being like, let's just be in the big game where we don't belong, so we just get embarrassed. Aren't you tired of getting embarrassed? Didn't you get embarrassed when the San Francisco 49ers ran the ball the entire game? They give Jimmy Garoppolo maybe literally 4 or 5 passes the whole game. And one pass he threw almost got picked from what I remember. Right? Like, you don't want to be embarrassed. I'm tired of getting embarrassed. It doesn't feel good to go to the big game just to get embarrassed and lose. So I want to go to the big game and look like we belong. So let's just change the expectation. All the other teams do that. The 49ers don't just go, well, we want Seattle to lose, and we want this team to lose, we want that team to lose. They don't do that. They just beat those teams. And they beat the teams in front of them, and they look talented, and they go to the Super Bowl, and they look like they should have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs, but didn't because they belonged. Let's stop being the team. Let's stop being the fans that keep wishing bad things on everybody else just for us to win, to get in a position to look embarrassed. Or we get lucky and we play against the Dallas Cowboys, which whatever can go wrong will go wrong with them fools. And then all of a sudden we get in the game against San Francisco and, oh, the real Jordan Love comes out. He doesn't perform that well. He's throwing picks. He's throwing across his body. And here we are. So stop it. Be real. Be honest. I get it. I've been through the days where, you know, you're a fan and you had a crappy week and Sunday comes and your team loses. You probably have the worst week of your life. It sucks. I get it. But we have to be honest. I've had enough L's. I've had enough of this happen year after year to finally say, you know what, man? We need to start demanding more of the people who are in leadership. We need to demand more of our GM. We need to demand more of our head coach. We need to demand more of the leaders, and we need to demand more of the players. And if the players aren't good enough, they got to go. If the coaches and the leadership isn't good enough, they got to go. That's the difference between these leagues, different teams in the league, is that you're just seeing talented people in talented positions where they can show their talent, and they're just flexing their muscles. And we got to stop trying to make mediocre great. So as always, I'm your nemesis. Peace, love, and hap. And I will catch you guys on